On the next episode of the DragonShip, we're going to be talking about hookup culture. Yeah.
If the girl's down for it, then like, fuck yeah.
Hookups are great.
Every weekend, baby. I love hookups.
I just hooked up with a few people.
So tune into the DragonShip this Saturday so we could break down all the statistics and facts and give you the real answer about who's really involved in hookup culture and who really is it affecting. This Saturday, 10:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 1:30 Eastern.
Look, do you want me to give you head or not?
The reason
Welcome
I
to the
believe hookup
DragonShip.
culture is
You savages. How you guys doing? I'm RP Thor. And today we're going to talk about hookup culture. Why is hookup culture out there? Well, I don't know. We're going to answer that question today. Apparently, it's men's fault that there's a hookup culture. And we're just beating those poor women down with hooking up left and right and left, up and down and up. You savages. So what is this Sex in the City phenomena? Well, the Tradcons, they say it's our fault. Us men. It's not the ladies' fault at all. So I'm going to bring up the panel today, and we're going to discuss it on the DragonShip because you know a rising tide lifts all ships. And I'm going to bring the savages on board right now, starting with the one and the only Phil Foster.
What's going
course,
on?
Raith, our sage advice, wisdom man. And we're going to have our inspirational guru right there, along with Glenn Laurence, our anchor.
Yo.
And today, where is Randall? We are going to bring on our producer for today's stream. Randall, how you doing, brother? Thank you so much for joining us today. Guys, I want to talk about this hookup culture. Is there not a man alive that wouldn't want free access to solve his reproductive problem, where he could just hook up and solve it at any given whim and will? I mean, just think, you'd never have to masturbate again. You'd have this instant hookup available. And if you listen to any of the news channels, what do we have? We have a hookup culture. My gosh, it's pretty amazing too. And to see it, everybody that's jumping on the bandwagon with this hookup culture, it's a phenomena that scares everybody. What is society going to become? Guys, what's your first thoughts on hookup culture? We got a video to show you real quick to illustrate what this is all about and what is the panic about with hooking up. Anybody want to make any comments about hookup culture before we start with our first reaction video?
No, can we just go to the reaction video so I can just clown these guys?
Exactly. Let's go, man.
I'm ready to go to war right now.
Easy now, my pit bull, my dear G. Let me restrain you just for a moment. Let's get to the videos. You want to bring them up or you want me to? Or we're going to have Randall do it.
You know, I can do it. I'll hit it right
All
now.
right. Go ahead and pause where you want to, and we'll go ahead and get right into it. Hookup culture.
All right. So first up, my new target, meet David.
beta AF is because it is completely and utterly selfish. You see, guys, hookup culture, for the few of you who are unaware, is simply going from girl to girl, maybe party to party, event to event, having casual sex with really whoever we want. And on paper, guys, especially in our degenerate 3D modern world, this doesn't seem like a bad idea. You know, every creator, red-pilled YouTuber is telling you it's fine. In fact, they're imploring you, they're encouraging you. Yeah, hookup culture, get as many notches as you can. It's a win-win. And I'm here to tell you that that is wrong or beta on so many levels.
All right. You know, this is the part that like really chaps my ass, okay? This douche canoe here, he likes to define words or redefine words. You guys, what is beta? What is beta? Thor, please tell me.
Now, beta is a container word that's used in, it's taken from anthropology to describe a set of hierarchies between sexes into how they mate. And it's basically describing a dominance hierarchy within a species. So alpha is the premier, top of the line, gets the first choices when it comes to the sexual hierarchy, gets the first choice of mates. Beta does not. In the red pill space, in our, I will never use the terms culture, but in our tribe of objective reality, we like to say, you know, alpha lays and beta pays. So that's kind of the descriptor that he's trying to put it in, as that this is actually.
He's using it in the negative context. Like he's using a triggering word that triggers men right, to get an emotional response out of it. And what he's doing is he's redefining what he is trying to say beta is, and he's using it in the negative to where you're like, oh, wait a minute, I don't want to be considered beta. So it's manipulation. He's using this term to manipulate the viewers to make them not want to be involved in hookup culture because he determines it to be beta as fuck.
Right. Let's hear how he justifies that.
For sure. Here we go.
Why exactly is hookup culture selfish? I mean, David, she's consenting to it. It's fun for me. It's fun for her. Why not? Because, my friend, you are now no longer thinking of your future self's best interest. What if I told you guys that, yes, as men, you devalue yourself the more women you sleep with?
Hey, Phil, question for you.
Yeah.
I know you have like a lay count of like close to 1 million. So, have you devalued yourself in the process of, pillaging through the poon that you've been through?
I don't necessarily call it devalued at all, man. I don't think that's the case at all. It's just, I don't think that's it, man. I don't think that's it at all. I mean, for me, I think devaluing yourself is like the quality of woman that you're sleeping with, bro.
Seriously, because I mean, now if he was talking about females in this aspect, like, if a woman has a high body count, then she has devalued herself because,
oh man, that's her only asset, bro.
Exactly.
That's all she brings to the table, man.
Exactly.
That's
So if he was talking to women and he said that, then I would agree with him. But the fact that he's using a talking point that is, defined for women, that's true for women, and trying to flip it and trying to, place it on men, that's one. It's almost like it's
Flip
beyond
the script. It's projecting.
Yeah, exactly. He's projecting it onto to men to make men feel like, oh no, wait a minute, am I doing something wrong?
Yeah, that's his hook, man. But
It's
look
a
at this
shaming
guy,
tactic.
man. Look at this guy.
It's really a shaming tactic that women use, but continue.
Yeah. All right, here we go.
Just as you can, it's a win-win. And I'm here to tell you that that is wrong or beta on so many levels. Why exactly is hookup culture selfish? I mean, David, she's consenting to it. It's fun for me. It's fun for her. Why not? Because, my friend, you are now no longer thinking of your future self's best interest. What if I told you guys that, yes, as men, you devalue yourself the more women you sleep with? In my opinion and experience, no great man was a slave to his lust. Instead, my friends, I propose the idea for you to hold on to your essence. Yes, promote celibacy, chastity, to start bringing this back.
So wait a minute, he wants
Semen retention. I'm sorry.
Yeah, here we go. Here we go.
So okay, so I don't know whether or not if it's like he decided, like, you know what, I'm gonna take on this spiritual journey and become celibate, right? Or if, like, females just saw him and is like, dude, you're unfuckable. So and he decided to make it himself, holier than thou with his unfuckableness.
Well, a lot of guys do that when they proselytize, not in this area, because they have such a low success rate with their, their reproductive problem.
Proselytize. I like that, Thor.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but it's like what I find interesting with this guy is that, so just so you guys know, I have attacked on him a few. No, I don't attack. I correct.
No.
I have corrected him in a few videos,
So
right?
Let me stop right there. Glenn is not our attack dog. He's our corrections officer with actual real life experience as a corrections officer. So
that is
we
correct.
need to make some corrections. We pass it off through the councils to our enforcer, who is our corrections enforcer. Thank you, the top G, Glenn Laurence.
Hey, Glenn.
Yeah.
Was it Solomon or King David who was titled the man after God's own heart?
That is King David, and he was given
And how many
title.
wives did he have?
Well,
how many concubines did he have?
King David. Okay, so we really know of two, but see, King David was. Let me give you this rundown. So King David was given the title, a man after God's own heart, from God. God gave him that title. After King David had an affair with Bathsheba and had her husband killed, sent to the front line so he could die, just so he could continue fucking Bathsheba and no longer be considered a fair. So
Does that sound like he was very celibate? So
No,
this
No.
man wants to take a Christian outlook, but one of the most exalted figures in the religion doesn't follow this man's advice or should lived by this man's advice. So we got to question this man already
Well, no,
because he knows his own stuff.
his Bible knowledge is horrible. Trust me, I have critiqued him on that too. Like he manipulates things by twisting certain passages to fit a narrative that they don't even mean, just to make himself sound good. It is bad. But Solomon, King Solomon, one of the most considered the wisest man in the Bible, written, Ecclesiastes, the Songs of Solomon, and Proverbs. He's known for making peace with other nations by marrying all their daughters. Dude had over 300 wives. Like, he had enough wives that he could only see one a day for a year, and it would take him a whole year until he saw them again. But let's continue.
Sit on that throne in your home. The goal isn't just to build yourself up so you can F chicks, bro. You're a fool if you think that's what it's all about. Hookup culture is just destroying men. Culture tells men these days, oh, just go out and enjoy yourself. Have fun while you're young. Gain experience with women. Don't even hold back. We're taught to enjoy the rewards of manhood, but only embrace the responsibilities of a young little child. All hookup culture is, you guys, it's just, I don't even know if I could say this on camera, masturbation. I'll say that. All you're doing essentially is
Okay. Come on now. Let's. What?
Can somebody give us
masturbation?
Can we get a definition of masturbation up, please? Randall, is that possible? Because I think I think it's important to not abuse words. Words are very important because they have meaning. There's meaning behind everything we say. And you know what, Mark, I want to mention something. You were right about the lust aspect. Look at Genghis Khan. Genghis Khan, like, what is it? 1/3 of all the descendants that are here now could get their lineage traced back to Genghis Khan.
Come on up, Mark.
Yeah, he made a point about no man is a slave to his lust, and he's right about that. But what he's looking at is some of the famous kings and people throughout the centuries who had a lot of women. They weren't a slave to their lust. They were just able to attract or handle that many women because of the power they had within themselves, the character and the mental strength and fortitude they had. It wasn't that they were out spending all their time looking for all these women and accumulating them so they could have them. So I think he misinterprets that there about, he's saying that, basically saying that people who have a lot of women are slave to their lusts. Now, yeah, if you become a slave to your lusts, it will destroy you. But that's not really what we're talking about here. But that's what he's projecting. That maybe it's happened to me. Maybe he's became a slave to his lust sometime in his life, or maybe he is now. I'm not sure, but that can happen. It can get to where if you're doing that a lot, it can be that becomes your main focus. And for a man, as we all know, that is not good when it becomes your main focus. That becomes a means to an end if that's all you're doing is accumulating women.
Yeah, you're right about that, because sometimes guys tend to be focused on fixing their main problem and tend to be projecting that, like, oh, if I'm struggling with this, all men must be struggling with this too. So since the poon or chasing the poon is my problem, it has to be everybody else's problem. So I'm going to preach to the guys as I preach to myself about my problem and their problem. Like, there's right here. Randall pulled up the definition of masturbation. All right. The definition of masturbation: stimulation of the genitals with a hand for sexual pleasure. So how is hooking up with a woman considered masturbation when the definition of masturbation is using your goddamn hands?
Yeah, I would respectfully disagree with that gentleman on that, because there's no comparison between masturbation and actually being with a woman physically. Unless today's society, the young men are so accustomed to masturbation and porn that they actually, maybe they have the same, or to them, more satisfaction from that than when being with an actual woman. That's possible. I'm not sure.
I can speak to that just a little bit, and we'll hear this later in that clip, is that masturbation lights up certain areas of the brain, and he's conflating the study where they use porn on the brain while someone was masturbating, which that was just a correlation. That is not the case. And then when a person actually has sex with another person, it definitely creates a brain chemistry, particularly if orgasms involved, that's very different than the masturbation. So that's really not possible with another person in the same fashion. There is something going on there, particularly when it's mutual. I mean, I guess if you use the traditional sheet and there's a hole in the sheet, and maybe so, but yeah, Mark's laughing. He knows what I'm talking about. It's from a long time ago, and it's on the wedding night, the sheet. Anyway, so yeah, definitely not masturbation. I'm curious to see what this guy says too, because I think that really guys that fall into anything like this is the addictive personality anyway, which is usually dealing with substances and potential prostitution as some way of sedating themselves. This definitely doesn't reach for averages, and this is the fear that's being broadcast for a purpose. Fear gets people motivated. It sells things. It is the primary driver. So
yeah, it's a tactic used to get people to buy into things, and they're purposely using trigger words or trigger statements to really motivate guys. And it's like, think about it. Most guys don't have this problem.
They do not, by a long shot.
By a long shot. You're talking about a very small percentage of guys that have this problem, or population, period.
Yeah. Insignificant in actuality. Let's continue.
Just playing with yourself, pleasuring yourself while having another person, another woman come in and help you do it. And I know as cheesy as it sounds, bro, but hey, look, this is someone else's daughter, bro. I mean, how effed up is that? What if another man came in and started doing that to your daughter?
Yep, this is shaming tactics. Notice that Jed, one of our good friends, this is easy to buy into because it sounds, in so many ways on paper, it sounds right, because men's sexual, his sexual quandary is that he's always on, right? He's always available to do this. Nature has built this way. Its universe has done it. You shouldn't be ashamed of that as your operating system. Now, what us as humans do is use our neocortex to work with that. So there's definitely some shaming tactics going on here, which will be very popular with certain sets of individuals, particularly, I believe, on the Tradcon side, because it really folds into what's been projected for years in the gynocentric social order that we have, is to shame men for women's failures. You notice that what he said was the way we also shame women. So
exactly. Well, I want to make a point though, because what he's doing is he is saying basically that men are basically just, every time a guy is hooking up with a girl, he's basically raping her. It's a grape session, because he's removing her agency. He's removing her choice making. He is removing the fact that she actually has free will, and she gets to make a choice in who she wants to engage with and who she doesn't. And when you're doing that, you're removing the fact that women do not have an option or a choice that they make, that they're responsible for, and be blaming the entirety of the responsibility on that decision on men. And that's the same thing, Randall, you're going to probably speak on this, but that's the same thing that the church has been doing against men for a very long time now, for at least the last 40, 50 years that I know of.
Oh, yeah. The church that I grew up was very... its tactic towards men specifically, is especially if you were a single man, was if you felt any sexual desire, which is natural. We have testosterone pumping through our bodies, especially as young guys, that makes us feel these urges. But if you felt those urges and you try to talk about it to anybody at the church, they made you feel so much shame. They would tell you that it's a sin. And as a young kid, you're impressionable. You listen to these adults that you look up to, and they're like, by feeling that way, you are committing a sin against God. By committing these acts, thinking these thoughts, you are damaging your relationship with God. God does not want you to do this, when it's a natural inclination for men to feel. And it's one of those things that they push literature on us. They push so much things onto men that when men start to then hide away those things, it comes and it starts to create an even worse problem. That's how we end up with guys who have porn addictions, who can't really talk to women. They have their issues where they've no longer have the social skills to be able to communicate with women, because when they were growing as kids, they were basically said, hey, anything moving toward yourself towards that goal is a sin and you need to be punished for it.
Yep. They inflate things and try to, put them on you. Like even if you even saw a hot chick and you're like, gosh, man, she is gorgeous, and you thought that like you would love to have sex with her, right there, you, sir, are sinning, and you're going to hell.
Committed adultery
you have
in your heart.
Adultery in your heart and your mind, and you are going to hell, sir.
Yeah, that's incorrect. That is not correct thing. And here's the thing, guys. I make it a prediction right now. This will become popular outside of church circles. This is going to reach out into neoconservatives as well as Tradcons. It kind of happens about every 2 to 4 years in our space, shall we say. In the space that we live in of objective reality, there's things that like to get projected upon us as a bad guy, and hookup culture is one of them. I think we should continue and see how that's done through shaming tactics and actually kind of pulling in guys like this as a white knight. You can see how this actually influences Jed too.
What if 10 different men, 20 different men started coming in and doing that to your daughter? Just using them as a masturbation tool, a slab of meat that they can just get off to. Would you be cool if they were doing that with your daughter? I mean, if you got a soul, I don't think you would like that, right? I know I wouldn't. So don't waste your time just embracing hookup culture. Our world is in the state that it's in because of this. Be very careful with the type of girls that you date. They could literally destroy your life. I know men in my own life who've gotten themselves so deep into these relationships with the wrong women that their life is literally hell on earth. And then you got
that just goes to like bad vetting. That just goes to bad vetting. Okay, guys are not vetting women enough. Yes, and that's true. But that has nothing to do with hookup culture. Okay, because hookup culture is literally just casual sex. All right. Getting with the wrong women, that's a totally different subject. That is not vetting a woman that you are having in your life properly for a long period of time as a partner properly.
Yeah, but he is tipping his hat here because he is by a way of obfuscation kind of tipping his hat as to where the actual issue lies with hookup culture. And it's definitely in vetting certain kinds of women, perhaps, that doesn't fit your, what you want in a long-term relationship.
But that's literally turning a booty call into a wifey material.
Oh, a hoe into a housewife?
Yeah, you don't do that. You don't do that shit. You don't turn a hoe into a housewife.
Well, it can be done. Let's just be honest. It can be done. Just like we can go to the moon. You could build a rocket and go to the moon. Takes a little bit of effort.
Yeah, but see, it's the juice
almost impossible.
Yeah, you can build a rocket and go to the moon, but is the juice worth the squeeze in the long run, bro? Are you ready to dude, let me tell you something right now. Is it worth it? Yeah, exactly. It's the juice worth. Let's just go ahead and coin the fucking phrase, man. Rolo Tomasi, is the juice worth the squeeze?
I think for 80% of the men it is.
Shit.
Hey, thanks,
dude, I've already been there, done that, and it's a fucking nightmare.
I'm just saying, I think for 80% of the men it is because it's the alternative to being sexless. And I think that's why you see a lot of men go through that. And yeah, do they eventually get zeroed out? Probably 99.9% of them do. But
by default.
Yeah. But like I said, I think that's what you got to look at is your current situation, and are you living your best life? Is your current situation setting you up for success, or is it setting you up for short-term success with long-term failure? I want to go back to the masturbation thing. Everybody was talking. I couldn't get in. The thing about using the word masturbation does two things. It sets a man up to understand that he's in control of her virtue, and it holds him totally responsible for the sexual act. And that's why churches are leaning this way now, because they can't say meaningless sex, because most people in the church have had meaningless sex or sex outside of marriage. Okay. I think you'd be hard pressed to find anyone in the church that hasn't, that's over the age of 15, I would say, these days. So they have to make it individualized. And the only way they can individualize that sin is to call it masturbation for men and hold men responsible for holding the virtue of women, which we all know is impossible for a man to do, on a single one-by-one basis. So, the church has always talked about, even since the beginning of the church, has always talked about, being celibate till marriage in some form or another. All right.
Yeah, but see, that's for different reasons, though.
Well, but the reasons may be different, but they've always talked about it. All right. But, disease and those issues were prominent with, the chance of death in the early church. And therefore, purity wasn't purity from the sex act. It was purity of the body. So that's always been important. Now, as we become more and more, I want to say, advanced in medicines and stuff like that, we've tried to translate purity of the body to purity of the soul, purity of the heart, purity of the sexual body. And we've been successful at that up until this point, till probably around the 60s, when pregnancy was the only indication of lack of purity before then. By taking out, if they're not pregnant or they haven't had a child, you can't tell whether they're pure. And that's what birth control did. But like I said, the whole thing about the masturbation, that's just to make a man responsible for the virtue, and to hold a man responsible for maintaining virtue within the church, virtue within the relationship, and virtue within the family.
Well, they even do it. They take it one further, especially with the church, right? What they do is they take it a little further than that, and they go, look, it's not just, purity. Like, if you are a man and you want to have sex with your wife, and if she doesn't let you, then that's God's will. And they literally dismiss scriptures of the Bible where it talks about you are not allowed to withhold yourself from one another.
How about Martin Luther's on that? Is it like 3 times and then it's okay to go with the maid?
Yeah, basically that's what he was saying. But like, there's a scripture in Corinthians that literally says you are not to withhold each other from each other unless it's for an agreed amount of time, and that time is dedicated for prayer. So unless your wife is praying and you guys agree that this time is prayer time, that's the only time she can deny you ass. So any other time that a woman denies you ass and it ain't for prayer, technically she's sinning. Yeah. And then if that causes you to go beat your meat, you have to look at where the original sin took place at, right? The guy's responsible for his sin of masturbation, but hey, ladies, you're responsible for not giving that ass when required.
Right. So there's a couple things going on here, Glenn and Raith, on this particular one. There's a couple things going on. I mean, if he has a problem with hookup culture, look what the chat says. Why doesn't he talk to women? He talks as if every man is taking part in hookup culture, when in actuality it's a very small percent. That's actually very true. And here's why. Number one, it's a fear, it's a grift, it's a form of control and shame. And there's a lot of reasons to do this in the culture. Sorry about that. And when they do that, they definitely, if you follow these guys out, they're selling something that is a solution. So they're offering a problem here. And they've decided to choose on it that men have created this hookup culture, which is, we'll get into in a minute, but they're definitely doing that. And it does feed into kind of a narrative that's been played in the church and Tradcon circles. And now, even in some colleges, I have read, I don't have the studies in front of me, that some of the LGBTQ community is calling hookup culture a heteronormative problem of control, which is they're jumping on the fear bandwagon as well. So there's a couple things going on here. Maybe we should continue.
Well, I want to make one point real quick, Thor, that the one thing that both blaming guys for hookup culture and then also blaming guys for not getting enough sex, or cheating or whatever, solely on the man, is the fact that the thing that they have in common is that they deny the woman's ability of choice, right? And that is huge that we need to understand is that we have to, as a society, we have to realize, like, look, women have free will and women have choice. They get to choose who they want to vote. They get to choose what they want to wear. They get to choose who they want to get with. There is a choice that they make that they're responsible for, and we cannot deny them that choice option. If we're going to deny them that they have no authority in the choices they make when it comes to hooking up with people, then we need to deny them the choices they make when it comes to voting as well, or anything else in life that they have the choice to do to get to exercise. If we're going to say that they're not capable and responsible for making bad decisions here, then by principle, we have to apply that across the board to make that true.
Oh, we can't do that. That'd be egalitarian.
Well, but I think let me go back to that for a second. I think that's actually true, and if men were doing it, all right, 100% of men were doing it, we would be able to protect women's virtue, but that's not going to happen. But the other side of it is you're right. It denies them the responsibility to take responsibility for their actions. All right. If I sit there and say, if we could cut thirst, we could get control over some of the problems that we have in the dating scene and stuff like that. That's true. But then again, at the same time, I'm telling them that we have the responsibility to, control the virtue of women, and we don't. And you're true about, yes, that is true, Glenn.
All right, let's continue. Let's
do it.
Many women in hookup culture believe they're going to find a meaningful connection. They don't realize they're being used for masturbation.
Wrong.
And oh man, that pissed off so many people. And it's an ugly way to put it, but it's true because that's what those men are doing. They're not vasopressin bonding to you, number one. So really, they're masturbating with your body is really what they're doing. They're masturbating and having no bonding connection whatsoever. So they may as well have stayed at home and masturbated with their hand or an object because their brain is viewing you as an object, especially if they watch a lot of porn. What they found is that men who watch porn and men who are shown porn and then shown pictures of attractive women, the brain operates, it lights up the part of the brain responsible for tool use instead of human connection. So if he's used to watching a lot of porn, that part of his so the research shows they showed pictures of attractive women to men who had first they would either show them nothing, I believe, or they'd show them porn, and they'd show them one or the other, and so they'd show them the attractive woman, and the men who had no images prior to that, their brain would light up for interacting with other humans. The men who are shown porn first and then shown a non-pornographic picture of attractive women, the part of their brain responsible for tool use would light up.
Shit.
Stop.
Yeah.
He's got it wrong.
So if you look at a lot of porn, you look at a woman, and what happens?
Thor, do you want to expand on that, please?
Yeah, so this guy's got it all wrong. This guy's actually some kind of counselor therapist, and he's got himself on a pretty solid podcast, but he's quoting the science wrong. And as far as tool use, that is correct, but that happens along with human connection at the same time. Remember, he said, oh, they show him a blank. I mean, he's got it confused. He's definitely got it confused, and he's doing this for the exact same reasons that the last guy. And we're going to see that in this clip. And we actually got the popularity of this concept on the rise. And with someone like Chris Williamson, he is going to jump on a popular topic. If you've watched this full video, you'll see that it's scripted exactly to showcase this. And this guy gets it pretty wrong. Let's continue on. He's calling it masturbation. He's saying vasopressin bonding. Look, you will do that regardless. I mean, there's countless men that have sex with women that don't want to bond with them because they've had huge body counts. They're not interested, and the guy sends her flowers the next day. It's total bullshit. If you're going to do that, unless you're sedating yourself somehow, there is going to be a vasopressin response. You're going to get it. You can't not get it with a woman. You can not get it with masturbation, but you're going to get it with a woman. So to create the analogy that it's nothing but masturbation is completely wrong, and it's a shaming tactic, and it's actually rooted in the history that we talked about when we talked about Spank the Monkey episode, where we went back in history. This is being regurgitated again with new wrapping. And here we have a counselor that's doing this. Why? Why would you do something like this?
Because
Very
it feeds
simple.
the narrative. It feeds
It
the narrative.
does. And guess what? That means there's a problem that he gets to counsel people on that in reality isn't the kind of problem that he's making out to be.
Think about that. No, think about that. You made a big point there.
Future therapy.
You made a big point there. So it is a money grab. Think about it. If we continue to blame the issue on men, and then we just have men just keep on coming to our counseling sessions or our Christian, counseling prayer groups, and we charge them to do this thing, right? And that means we have constant revenue coming in, because you know what? Every guy, there's a book that's called Every Man's Battle that's all about the sins of lust and the struggles of lust that men face, and it's just a constant demon that you have to conquer. Yes, I get it to a degree. That's true when it's abused, but what they're doing, the narrative that they're trying to preach or they're speaking on, is like literally saying to guys or to ladies, to women especially, hey, guess what? If your man enjoys having sex with you and he constantly is approaching you sexually, he's using you as a tool of masturbation. It's not the fact that he loves you and he desires your body, but you are just a means to an end.
It's more insidious than that, actually, because that leads to the very next step, which you'll see in future ones. It's where, if you have a girl and you look at another girl, because it's natural for males to look and observe at other fertile females, you have now are a thought criminal for doing something like that. You're mentally masturbating, which is just as bad as regular masturbating in the terms of you might need counseling like this guy is going to sell you. So
look at Coco's comment real quick. All right, here we go. He made a comment saying men look at women as sex objects, but don't stats show that women are sex objects to men and men are sex objects to women? Yes. Oh, yeah. Haven't you guys talked about? Exactly. We have. So
there's a bit of a script flip here that doesn't make sense, because they don't really have the education that we do, and or they're selling something here, and what they're selling is indignation.
Well,
because to tell you the truth, when he's doing this, you'll see that to say this creates indignation with viewers. It's like, oh my God, they're doing that. They're masturbating with females' bodies. That's akin to what? Non-consent. And so that'll create indignation, which will create more viewers. It's kind of insidious when you think about it. Maybe
but this guy, this doctor, no, he knows. He's not stupid. He knows, because he even talks about, if you go into a breakup, if you watch the whole video, he talks about if you end up experiencing a breakup, it's good for you to study intersexual dynamics and read up on that stuff about the way men and women operate and what triggers men and women. So he talks about, so he's not stupid. He knows, but he's using it maliciously in this form to push a narrative.
Yeah, let's get back to Adam Lane Smith. All right, let's hear what he has to say.
Happens. Your brain says tool use, I'm going to masturbate. So he forgets you're even there if he's used to porn. Also, men who watch a lot of porn focus on acts and body parts way more. So he's staring at her boobs and he's trying to get off to her boobs instead of saying, hey, we're having a wonderful experience together. Let's really enjoy this and bond and connect. He's just trying to get off.
Wait.
I got something on this one too when you're done.
Don't men look at women anyway on their body parts? Hello, this is nature.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Dude, when I look at my girl, or any girl for that matter, absolutely, I'm thinking about positions, ways, taste, smells. I'm thinking about it all, man. I'm objectifying her in my mind 100%. She is a friggin' tool.
Yeah.
And that's what women want. They want to be objectified, bro. That's the thing.
So it's a tool of intimacy, for sure.
But they want to be objectified by the guy that they want to be objectified by, though. That's a big
exactly. The moral of the story is, in the end, it's not necessarily that she's a tool in his mind. It's that maybe, and see, I get pushed on a lot about the whole porn thing. Like me and my girl, we watch porn occasionally and stuff like that. It's no big deal.
Right.
In some of the circles I circulate in, it's like, oh, porn bad. You're gonna go to hell. Blah 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 blah. You know what I mean? And I'm always pushing back on that. And the simple fact is there's a healthy way and a non-healthy way to do anything in this friggin' world.
Correct.
Even down to driving your friggin' car. Following the laws of the road, relatively good, versus keeping the foot to the floorboard all the time, that's an unhealthy way to drive your car. It doesn't matter. Any way that you live, it can be unhealthy. But the simple fact still remains is a woman wants to be objectified. It doesn't matter. If she selected you to objectify her and you don't objectify her, then you're failing her as a man. So here's the thing, when the hookup thing happens, absolutely, when you see a woman, you're looking at her tits, you're looking at her ass, you're looking at her hair, you're looking at her makeup, you're looking at it all because you are calculating whether she's worthy of your cock, man. The moral of the story is it does not matter 100%. If you don't objectify her, you're failing her. So she is a tool.
Absolutely, Phil. I mean, you think about it, we've all heard from our wonderful girls that they want to be a slut. They want to be our slut just for us. You've heard the term sleeper too. She looks great and modest in public, but she's my girl. It's the Madonna whore complex once again. And they definitely participate and encourage it as far as they being women.
They.
Yeah.
It's funny.
The big thing.
Think about this. Like, if you did not find your girl sexually desirable, she's unfuckable.
There it is.
All right. So women want to be fuckable. So we have to objectify them. If we don't objectify them, then we would not fuck them.
Well, yeah, and we do that for pretty much all women for sure. So it's kind of disingenuous to have him state those facts.
Yep.
Let's continue.
Here we go.
He's just there and he's like, all right, we're going to do this. We're going to do this. And that's the dude who's yelling like 15 different. That's the dude who's yelling 15 different instructions during, like, all right, flip around. Now look at me. Now jump up and down. And like, that's why is because he's recreating these porn scenarios that his brain.
No.
This asshole is rude because, first of all, you just are very talented and you have a multiple skill set and positions. Just because you are expanded beyond missionary does not mean you are some sick fucker that, needs his counseling problems.
He misunderstands the escalation ladder and what that's all about. It actually creates intimacy.
Yeah.
He misunderstands multiple positions like doggy style. There's a certain penetration level that goes in there that feels different for women. Each position feels different for women, hits it differently.
I second that motion.
This dude must be stuck with starfish sex. This guy must be stuck on starfish sex as the only way to have sex.
It almost seems like he's never held a meat hammer before. Shall we continue?
Meat hammer. Jesus
Christ. He's programmed his brain to get off to. He has built a fetish around using the female body and different body parts. So he's just masturbating with your body at that point. And even if you're married, he can still be just masturbating with your body because sex to him is a way of masturbating because he's used to masturbating to women on the internet.
Can I say something real quick here, Thor?
Of course.
Hey, what I was going to say is, I think it sounds like when he keeps repeating that masturbatory thing, even if you're married, so maybe it's more about what he's trying to convey is it's a connection thing, that intimate, love connection, right? It's instead of it being the objectification of a woman, it's more of the connection of, the two hearts or whatever like that, because that's what he does, right? He's a relationships counselor. He helps people get their relationships put back together again, depending on what they've been going through. 9 times out of 10, we all know why relationships fail. It's because the man has failed in some aspect or another in her presence. That's pretty much what it is. That is if you've vetted your woman properly. But I think that's what he's primarily saying here is, if it's just sex and fucking, then it's just sex and fucking, and he's using you as a tool. And as a relationship counselor, he is saying, it's masturbatory because even if it's your husband, he's just using you. Am I understanding that correctly? Am I getting that right though?
Yeah, I think that's the direction. Unfortunately for this guy, I mean, there's a lack of understanding, I think, because sex is foundational. It's the glue that holds relationships together. It's what starts before there's a relationship. I just did I talked earlier about some of the stats when you actually get to that intimate relationship and there's a marriage. Here's the top 4 reasons for divorce that's listed from the CDC. Marital infidelity. The second one's financial disagreements. The third one, by order, is lack of sex.
So basically, he's talking about lack of cuddling after sex. So guys,
that's not what he's talking about.
No.
Okay,
Oh,
what he's saying. What he's saying is this: he has figured out a appropriate way to, as Phil talks about, transfer those energies. And there's only one way, and it's the way that he teaches. That's what he's trying to get across to people.
Good point.
Okay. So if you do it in any other way, if you're a dom and submissive, and that's not the way you do it, because the energy isn't being transferred in a way that's respectful to women. Okay. In his mind. All right. That's what he's telling you. If you want a good relationship and you want a healthy sexual relationship, then you need to come and see me, and I'm going to tell you how to get there. I'm going to tell you how to exchange that energy so that it's appropriate for both of you. Okay. And he talks about fetishes. People develop fetishes based on a lot of different reasons. Some of it is because you're successful. Some of it is because you have some PTSD or something that causes you to want to be humiliated and those kind of things. Those are all different. All right. If you have someone that has a mental illness and they're trying to sort through their fetishes and stuff, there are some fetishes that are healthy. There's some that aren't. Okay. But what he's telling you is, if you just want a normal, healthy, happy sexual life, you need to come and see me, because I'm going to tell you how to do that so that it's respectful to the woman.
Raith, sage wisdom once again.
So basically, don't
ask how he reframed that, Raith. Great job on that one, man. I like that, dude. I like that reframe on that, brother.
Very
good. So basically, don't ask for a sandwich after sex. Got it. I got
Don't get the dustbuster and clean the corners.
No sandwiches after sex, guys. No requests.
The thing is too many people are trying to get into the bedroom of other people and tell them what's right and wrong. All right. It happens with women when women are sitting there talking about the sex they're having with their husbands. And one woman says, well, I would never put up with that. Well, that may be what it takes to get that woman off. Okay. And then she starts thinking, well, maybe there's something wrong with me. And that builds that discontent in the relationship and those kind of things. There is as long as it's healthy for both of you and no one is being hurt, what happens in the bedrooms between you and her. All right.
Why is it going to be in the bedroom?
Huh?
Why is it got to be just in the bedroom?
Why can't they be in the kitchen?
I'm just talking about from the standpoint.
Okay. I'm just making sure, reframe it all the way for us, brother.
It might be.
What about a gym bathroom?
Say so.
What about a gym bathroom? Is it not allowed there?
Probably not.
All I'm saying is, as long as it's healthy for both of you and no one's being damaged, and no one's being hurt, it's between you two.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, there's some level of pain that sometimes are,
and there are women that like pain.
Yeah, right here, foster assist. Look what she put. She says society says BDSM is disrespectful to women, but in reality, it's one of the greatest forms of respect and trust between a man and a woman.
Well, I'll agree with that, and it creates quite an intimacy as well.
It does.
Good
girl.
Good girl. Like I said, this whole thing about, hey, the APA is going to describe what is good, healthy sex. I don't know very many psychologists that stay married long term, or psychiatrists that stay married long term. They get into those career fields because they're trying to fix themselves. All right. They already have their own issues, and they're trying to fix their issues through helping someone else fix their issues. And they're not very successful at it.
Yeah. Can I show the screen again?
Let's do that, and then let's follow up with a little interaction that our Bulldog corrector has prepared for us so kindly that just happened recently. So go ahead and speak to this, and then let's preface our unleashing of our G. So
when I was doing my research on this topic, right, I came across this study, this article, right, and it's about the sex culture, right, or the hookup culture, and it basically says the data that was compiled by the research of Indiana between 2004 and 2008 by these two lady scientists. They literally basically found out that when women are engaging in hookup culture, since more women, you got ladies, and I'm just telling you this right now, you might be surprised by this, but ladies, you guys are more involved in hookup culture than men are.
Amen.
So what they have found out was in their study is that women that are engaging in hookup culture see men the same way as men engaging in hookup culture see women, as a sexual object, as a form of amusement and entertainment.
Yeah.
That's brutal. God, that's brutal.
So this guy that's like, everybody that's talking about like women are, being treated as masturbation tools, you fellas are just a flesh dildo to them. All right, you're just a dildo that doesn't vibrate.
A fun stick.
Yeah, you're just a fun stick.
A meat hammer.
And then this other one.
Is this the one? Is this the one?
This is the one.
Here's the other one. This is a problem now. It's when we said that guys are not really engaged in hookup culture. This is the reason why. Well, one, because 80% of men are not considered even attractive or are even on women's radar when it comes to attraction levels. But on top of that, you couple that with this, that the problem is that millennials and Gen Z are becoming less masculine and becoming more feminine and being less attracted to females. And the average testosterone level has been dropping at a rate of 1% per year. We have so many fucking soy boys out there, all right, that have more estrogen than testosterone that, when women, they're more, they end up being more like girlfriends. That's why I did a show called When Your Boyfriend Becomes Your Girlfriend, because literally guys have become so feminized that they are not masculine enough, and that's also attractive. When you are masculine, you are attractive to women. But then you couple that with the whole toxic masculinity bullshit and a whole bunch of other things, you can see why guys are not able to actually interact in the hookup culture as well as, or as much as they would probably like. That's why the real statistics that are, when it comes to men's position in hookup culture, it's only 4.5 or 5.4 whatever percent of men that are actually in hookup culture, but it is 90 or 100% of women.
Correct. That's really interesting. Now, I saw that, if you want to, did you want to bring up the study on college hookup culture that Phil found?
Yeah.
The student perceptions and implications, because really the numbers there really tell the story. And the number of participants, how they were surveyed, and the demographic breakdown actually described how hookup culture actually is.
While he's pulling that up, Thor, and before we talk about this, what else does the APA that we were discussing, I think it was last night, what else do they promote other than this narrative? We were talking about it last night. They are against what? Do you remember what you told me? Toxic masculinity.
Oh, toxic masculinity. Yeah, that's a big one.
You mean masculinity, period, because according
toxic.
to them, all masculinity is toxic.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I just wanted gentlemen to understand that, when we put these facts together for these shows, and Randall, where can they find this information on the channel?
Yep. All of the links, the studies.
Yeah.
So if you guys go to the link tree down in the description for the DragonShip, down at the bottom of that link tree, there is a link for our resources for every episode since we've started designing those. So we're at like 4 or 5 episodes now. You can go in there. There's a Word document in there that you guys can then find the link.
Hookup culture, I think, when it comes to
for a bit, but that's where you'll find it. So don't take our words for it. We're telling you the truth. We're being honest, but trust, but verify. So go into those folders, pull out these studies, and look them up for yourself. Because if you guys want to truly get better, develop your knowledge, you have to do your own research. You got to find your own information. We're presenting information that we've found to you. We're not just speaking out of our ass. So pull this information up if you truly want to delve into it further, because knowledge is power. So if you guys want to become more powerful, become more knowledgeable. So put in the work, look it up if you desire to, and you guys would just become better for it.
And if it applies, carry it with you. If it doesn't apply, let it go. What an asset you are, Randall. Thanks for putting that in there.
Absolutely. Thank you, Randall. Really appreciate that.
Seriously.
Phil, would you like me to bring up the study and just talk about the demographic?
Yeah, we can do that, or let's just chop it up a little bit on it.
Okay, we can do that. That way you know what you're going into before we ask our final questions today. So let me go ahead and do that. Let me present that. And here we go. Gentlemen.
Hopefully I can read it, from
you should be able to. I have it enlarged, so.
All right, that's good because I'm the old guy. Yeah, there we go.
So you guys can see this. This is college hookup culture, student perceptions and implications of individual well-being. And this is done, I believe, to tell you the Ball State University, Muncie, Indiana, May 2020.
So this is a recent study.
It is. And of course, this is the abstract, but what I want to get to is the method. I believe that starts on page 5 because this is where it's important. And you can see the questions. You guys can all look this up, but it really tells the story. And we'll get down here right now. The introductions about the story. And then here is the method. And this is where you understand what's being asked here. So it's 94 undergraduate students at Ball University completed the survey. 11 of these participants only provided demographic data, so their responses were excluded from the overall data totals. Participants were required at least 18 years old to take the survey. So the mean age was 21, and then they talk about what the standard deviation is, 4.3 when they do the math. It says here, of those who answered the question on gender. Guys, this is who actually participated in the study. 16 of the participants were men.
16.
Yep. 70 were women, and 2 identified as non-binary. So that's very interesting. I think that's pretty interesting when you get down to it. And then on, did I miss anything there, Phil?
Yeah. I just wanted to go ahead and the majority, 87.5% of participants identified themselves as white. Yeah. While only 4.6 were Hispanic, 2.3% were Black or African American, and 2.3% were Asian, and 1.1% were Native Hawaiian or Pacific Islander. 2.2 were multiple races. And so that's an interesting thing. 71% of the participants identified as exclusively heterosexual. So let that sink in. Yep. So when you get the LGBT, I always say this backwards, guys. So the alternative lifestyle folks, I'm just going to call them that. A lot of people say that this data is skewed because you have a big percentage of those kind of people in the LGBT. Am I saying it correctly? LGBTQ.
LGBT is the shortest version you can use.
Yeah. So those folks right there, they say that a lot of the actual hookup cultural term comes from those folks, right? But that's not necessarily the case based on this study at this college at this time in 2020. It's interesting to me that he's got it highlighted. 4.5% were predominantly, what did you say, homosexual, and 5.5% were exclusively homosexual. So it's like the bi folks. And so if 70% of the 70 of the participants were women, that's just saying that they were bi. They would go both directions. You know what I'm saying? So it's
and that's quite reflective of population as a whole. So as far as the racial breakdown, it could be geographical location. We're not really sure, but it's really interesting in the fact that only 16% or 16 respondents. I mean, we're talking 15%, essentially, maybe 18% of men here. They're even asked about hookup culture. And you'll see why this is very reflective when we say that hookup culture really only exists for women.
100%.
An extremely small percentage of men. And, just to add to that, we had our bulldog unleashed just recently in the last couple of days, and I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing this. But Glenn Laurence, he decided to get nice and interactive because we were actually preparing all of the statistics and the videos for this. We've been doing this for a week, and our bulldog was unleashed, watching Jedediah Bila and Rollo go at it. And I have to say this, Jed, we love you. We love your transformation.
Good girl.
We think it's fantastic. It is what we here in our space do with our women. We love them to death. We condition them and provide conditions so that they can actually learn and understand human sexual dynamics in a good way and actually bring more joy in their life. So we're seeing this transformation with Jed because she's been conditioned by all of these social and even economic pressures to think a certain way about men and how men operate, when in reality, much of this projection is what females are operating under and what they're doing. And since she's been raised egalitarian, it seems that it should be equal across the board. he actually interacted via super chat on Valuetainment, and the results are stunning compared to the video that we watched earlier about her initial response to hookup culture being a problem for men. Glenn, I'm going to turn it over to you.
So, as the bulldog, I have to, it's my responsibility and to provide correction.
The corrector.
And in this video that I'm about to show you guys, I actually clipped her original statement, my question, and then her and Rollo's interaction on that question. So, Jed, I'm sorry. I had to do it. But you left me with no choice. I'm sorry. The correction came. Here it is.
And it causes you to lose perspective, number one. It can cause you to kind of lose your sense of morality. And three, like, who are you becoming in this process? And if you did have a family, great point he brings up, and you have a child one day and that child is a girl, are you going to like pray that girl doesn't encounter a guy who's behaving like you? You don't want to be a person that ultimately is the type of guy that you would want your future daughter to stay away from.
Jed, that was very rude of you to use a shaming tactic upon men. I do not approve, just so you know. As we continue.
People forget oftentimes that when you're engaging in hookup culture, where does that go down? You're in the bar more, you're in the club more, you're drinking more alcohol, you're dipping into the drugs here and there, you're being less healthy when it comes to your physical body and your mental health. You're not in the gym as much, you're not working as hard, you're distracted, you're consuming all these substances.
I have one question here. Just so you guys know, have you guys all hooked up on with chicks in the club? Is that the only place you guys are hooked up? Because I know that for me, I banged Coco many times in our gym bathroom. That's actually the first place we hooked up, was the gym bathroom. Okay, so that was no drugs needed. We were in a healthy place. We were trying to gain weight, try to put on some muscle. So please, tell me.
Can I tee off you real quick, Glenn?
Yeah.
On what she just said about the drugs and alcohol, if when the chat or whoever might watch the stream later down the road, or if you're watching live, and you definitely go check that study that we found. I think, and I hope I'm not misconstruing it, but I think it's 65% said that alcohol was involved in the actual hookup process in one form or another, but there was no mention of drugs.
Correct.
I just wanted to throw that out there. So it's not necessarily the club, but alcohol could be involved. So I kind of get where she's going with it. She just kind of embellished or engrossed it a little bit to make it a little more impactful, but I get what Glenn's saying too, 100%, man. That's a healthy environment, man. The gym, but you really technically, did you guys train before you did it?
Oh, no. That was before our workout. Okay. So that was our cardio session right before, how to get the heart rate up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So then you didn't have the training high.
No.
Okay. Just making sure, because you'd be running on those endorphins. So
was it a compound movement like cock squat?
Oh, yeah. It was super isolated thrust. It was more like hip thrust.
Nice.
Me doing hip thrust to her.
Squat thrust.
People do cardio before working out all the time. Glenn thought it would be interesting, and he gave it a shot.
All right,
you know what? I just figured, you gotta change up the cardio. You can't just do the treadmill. You can't just do sprints. You gotta switch it up. I was trying to do high intensity intervals with the thrusts.
All right, let's pull our modesty back in here, and now Jed, what she's doing here is she's definitely leaning egalitarian.
Laurence, Rollo.
Go ahead and rewind that, please. Let's go back to Jed. Go back a little further, because what she's doing is she's equating male female in response. You'll see.
A person that ultimately is the type of guy that you would want your future daughter to stay away from. People forget oftentimes that when you're engaging in hookup culture, where does that go down? You're in the bar more, you're in the club more, you're drinking more alcohol, you're dipping into the drugs here and there, you're being less healthy when it comes to your physical body and your mental health. You're not in the gym as much, you're not working as hard, you're distracted, you're consuming all these substances.
Got one from Glenn Laurence. Rolo, educate Jedediah on hookup culture. She believes it affects men the same as women.
No, not the same. Not the same. That's incorrect. It affects both, but not the same way.
There is no hookup culture. There is no hookup. Well, there is no hookup culture for 80% of men.
Yeah.
And that's
Can you look at her face?
verified.
Did you see her face?
Yeah, and
She's
see that study. The study verifies what Rolo just told her. The truth is there, guys. Just go read that study that Randall's put out there for you.
Yeah, did you see her look on her face? Like she looked like, what? What did you just say?
Yeah. Go ahead and rewind that. That's important. Let's let it play through.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, it is good. It was a great question, by the way.
Laurence Rolo, educate Jedediah on hookup culture. She believes it affects men the same as women.
No, not the same. Not the same. That's incorrect. It affects both, but not the same way.
There is no hookup culture.
Pause her right on it.
There is no hookup. Well,
look at that look, man. Go back to her real quick.
Well,
seriously,
she's trying, but she can't give it all away. You know,
the denial. Dang, that was too spicy. It's too spicy. The chips and dip is too much, babe. I can't eat anymore.
That should literally be the thumbnail. We should have totally used it.
Look at what? That's great body language. That's great.
It is. Look at Rolo right there. Rolo's like, he smelled blood in the water.
A little bit of amuse mastery here, and he handles it with very good finesse. Let's listen.
Percent of men.
Yeah, and he continues to say, and doesn't realize that women are hooking up way more than men, and that 1/3 of men in 30 or younger are sexless.
Okay, so hookup culture. Where do you think? I want to get to this because I don't. What do you think we disagree on some components?
I don't. Maybe just like the details. I don't know. Okay. I don't think that we necessarily.
So my take on it is this, because whoever that was in the chat was wrong. I actually just feel like it's bad for. I argue a lot that it's bad for women. When I talk about it with relation to men, it's a little bit different. I don't talk about it from the perspective of emotional trauma. I don't know that men experience emotional trauma from sleeping with people that they don't love, but I do talk about it as it being a sinkhole where then it becomes like, people they get upset because I didn't. It becomes like a tally, like how many girls can I get with this week? Oh, I didn't hit the mark. That's a problem. They start like falling into the drinking, falling into the club culture, losing focus, losing ambition, and focus on what they should really be doing, which is like becoming that financially secure, financially stable, healthy, in the gym, fit guy who looks to a woman like a reliable source to lean on. Mm-hmm. So for me, it's just a sinkhole in different ways for both. Mm-hmm. I don't want guys like I'd rather, and I just tell guys like, don't do it. Don't get immersed in hooking up with people that don't matter. It's just going to take you off your mission.
So first of all, I think the term hookup culture is it's nonsense. And I've been saying this really since about 2012, but I think it's more pronounced right now, 10 years later. The reason I say that whenever you put the word culture after any other word, you make it endemic. So if we say it's rape culture, it's marriage culture, it's bro culture, it's this culture, that immediately is like sort of like sends up a red flag for me. It's like, why are we calling it culture? Do you think that everyone is doing this right now? Because when you say that, so when I look at hookup culture, I have to put it into perspective of evolutionary psychology and a red pill perspective as well. 80% of guys are sexless. They're not getting, they're unattractive, let's just say. And I say they will be that way for life. They're not perma-virgins. I'm just saying that 80% of guys are deemed as unattractive. Dr. David Buss talks about this, Steve Stewart Williams, Rob Henderson. There's all kinds of data, and not just the dataclysm stuff and not just the online stuff, but there's multiple sources for this. So you've got 4.5% of guys, and then you've got the entirety of women who can still at least be attractive enough to compete at that level, to be in the running, to be in the sexual marketplace, getting after it with the 4.5%. If there is a hookup culture, it exists between a very small percentage of men and a wide percentage of women, whereas the rest of the guys are the have-nots, the 80%ers are the have-nots. That's why I say that there is no hookup culture, because it seems like the way that it's represented and the way that it's pitched is that all guys can get all girls. They're unattractive, and they're not going to get the call.
It seems to me that there is a hookup culture when it comes to women, though. There are. I mean, we show
and
videos.
And the 4.5% of guys.
We show like videos constantly of, and the reason I showcase them is because I want people to understand what a modern woman is saying. Like, let it come out of her own mouth, and they'll say, oh, my body count is, I don't know, 15, 16, I don't know, I lost track, you know, in and out of jumping in and out of bed with different guys, wearing it as a badge of honor. And it just seems to me increasingly normalized. So that tells me that there is a hookup culture when it comes to women, which is a problem. Most of those women, because there's a lot of men that are sexless, they're depressed as a result, they're looking for a partner, they're not getting it, they're not engaged in that hookup culture 100%.
Well, gentlemen, it's bless her heart. She's trying so hard and she's come a long way. I think that she probably is a thinker, and she lets the emotions and her conditioning in society put her in that position to think that way. Coming from a traditional conservative background, it's very much fed into her via religion and her girlfriends and everything around her. But it was an interesting transformation. Notice that you might think that we are actually doing Rolo worship here. It is the furthest thing from the truth. We actually did our show preps on Thursday and Friday morning, and this was not available yet. It was just stroke of luck that Glenn was watching a live edition and was able to interact with that and generate Rolo's response, which, by the way, identically matched the studies that we have listed in our link tree. It's out there. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to add it together with simple math, and it becomes quite apparent for us that hookup culture really only exists for women in modern society. And that 4.5% of men that women actually approach, it's available to them, and they're usually extremely valuable amongst all women, 100%. And that's the ones that are sought after. And the fuel to the fire is social media. It's global access to the sexual marketplace. And the fact that global access for women has really skewed the Pareto principle, or the bell curve that we used to enjoy in men and women, you know, getting together and trying to mate up. Any comments, gentlemen? Thank you, our corrector, Glenn.
I think there's always been a hookup culture, if you want to say it that way, and there's always been a small percentage of the men that are getting the big percentage of the women. That's just the way it's always been. It's just now we have social media to let everybody know that. I don't think it's any different now than it's ever been.
I agree with that. I think that's actually part of human nature. You know, I want to hear from some of the other guys on there what your thoughts are on what we just watched. I mean, we watched Jed's kind of transformation over the weeks in the last 6 months. She's really kind of becoming aware of how men and women interact. She's in a good spot for herself. She's really an outlier. You know, I would assume she has quite a masculine man in her life. She acts like it, and it's really fulfilled her in different ways than you'd see if you just look back on her career just, you know, say several years ago. Yeah, this is an interesting thing that's starting to become quite popular on the YouTubes and in regular media. A lot's been written about hookup culture and how bad men are by creating it, and you'll see this put on our space. The reason it's being put on our space because we recognize the fact that men of high value have access to all of these women. And we often say we have more options, we have abundance, because we understand that. And so we're going to get tagged with that as the bad guy for all these separate groups. Comments, questions, guys? Chat?
Yeah, I mean, I'll go ahead and jump in on this. You know, I think that, you know, another piece to this, the whole thing is, you know, we talk about, you know, the percentage of men versus women. You know, I think Rollo had mentioned 4.5% of the men. But, and did he allude that it was basically 100% of the women? I was looking on
the dating.
He said between 80 and 90. He said between 80 and 90.
Yeah, and that's yeah, and so you know, but that's a big thing, right? It's 100% of the women.
Yeah,
you know, so let's keep it real on that number right there. The moral of the story is, you know, women are a great thing; they're an awesome thing. But I want you guys to understand something. When the word hookup culture is out there, this is a women-driven, generated thing. You know, the moral of the story is it's not men. It's women. And so there's the fact of it right there. You know, it doesn't necessarily mean anything. And so, you know, as a man, do you devalue yourself? I disagree with that. I think it's the value of the woman you give yourself to. Okay. Now, inversely, it does not damage a man, but it definitely devalues a woman every time she behaves in that fashion. I use this analogy. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I use this analogy with someone the other day. It's like if I had a glass of iced tea, like your favorite drink, say it's iced tea, you want an Arnie Palmer, and I put a straw in that Arnie Palmer, whoever this might be. Okay. This is anybody. And we're at a function and I tell you, okay, people that okay, we'll just say we'll use 10 people, for instance. I allow 10 people to take a drink out of that straw, okay, and then give you the tea and say, go ahead and drink it. 99.9% of the people would say, I'm not going to use that straw. He's had it. 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 And that's the point, right? Is it damages women. And that's what they're missing on this whole thing. I think that when women damage themselves and devalue themselves, the only thing they bring to the table, I mean, in asset wise in a man's life, is her virtue, right? So the thing is as women behave in this fashion, and it continues to spiral down because it's going to keep going in the direction it's going. You can't convince me of anything else. I 100% agree that by 2030, whatever that statistic was, that most women will be single and unmarried and without children, because they will literally expect a man of value to give them the opportunity. But the thing is she has no value to give him. Why would you want something that other people have touched? Why would you drink your favorite drink out of a straw that 10 other people have drinking out of before you? And that's the thing, right? Is, it doesn't necessarily damage a man, but it definitely devalues a woman. Now, if you're not working on yourself and you're at the bowling alley 3 nights a week, drinking brews with the bros, and you're working your blue collar and making your little old $350, $400 after tax job, then yeah, you're going to settle with that. But when you settle for something like that in a situation like that with a woman like that, be prepared for a nightmare life. Okay, because the problem is through that promiscuous behavior, what happens is women generally end up damaged in the head, and that can have adverse problems and create a whole scenario of situations in your life. And that's why you got guys like Raith doing what he's doing, talking about, you got to change who you are as a man and vet properly and all this good stuff. The thing is, I don't think necessarily men perpetuate this. I think women have precipitated this. It's like they've taken the flour, they've taken the eggs, they've taken the oil, and the dudes are just like the chocolate chips for the chocolate chip cookie mix. You see what I mean? We're just like another piece of the recipe, but primarily it is 100% of the women behaving in this fashion. Now, the ones that are already locked down, yeah, but did they behave in that? Well, I mean, if you go back to the study that I'd found and then we shared that Randall had put up for people that might watch this study, I mean, what was it? 70? What was the percentage again? I mean, look at the percentage.
It was huge. It was more than that. It was above 80. And I'll just prove it right here for you, Phil, with the OkCupid graph. Okay.
Let's go. Let's do it, baby.
Yeah, you're going to like it. So the OkCupid graph, gentlemen. Here it is.
Oh man, this one here, man. I had you had to double take that bad boy.
This is the Pareto curve I talked about earlier. You can see the men with standard distribution. This is mathematics. This is how things normally work. With women having more access, hypergamy run amok. It's quite open now. They really do follow their nature here. And you can see the attractiveness rating and why we say that. This is, I mean, if you look at this is an article that I pulled, but buckle up. Here you go. And it talks about this. This is, you can see, this is all linked, and this is all from the OkCupid stuff right here. Yeah, there's tens of thousands here. So I just wanted to demonstrate, kind of back you up there, Phil. And we're just not talking, to talk, although we do like the sound of our own voice, particularly when Phil's talking.
Yes, sir.
But this is real, and men should be aware of it. And even women should be aware of this, because ultimately their fulfillment lies in the fact that they have a man. And you can see it all over the place as they age out of the sexual market. they all come to the same conclusion. Unfortunately, they have a very limited amount of fertility for which they can do what the universe put them here to do.
That's right.
And so,
and going off of this graph, and what, Foster Assisted put in the chat, she says right here, it's because we live in a society of women thinking what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Basically, if men can do it, they can do it too. What they're missing, though, what girls are missing is the devalue. They're losing value every time. And that's the saddest part of it all, because, in the end, I believe the statistics that come that have come out with 2030, I mean, I can't see it going any other way. I mean, really and truly, especially if the things continue to perpetuate in the way they are. Because any man worth his salt that's built an empire or is building an empire is not going to wife up a hoe.
Can I tee off on that?
Go.
You made a point where like women are trying to be like men in the sense, right?
Yeah, right here. It's in the chat.
Yeah. So from a biblical standpoint, all right, you guys know I got to bring something out every once in a while, okay?
Let's go, baby.
So in Genesis 3:16, all right, this is after Adam and Eve ate the fruit and God found out they're wearing fig leaves and he's about to like render his punishment onto them, right? So in Genesis 3:16, he is talking now to Eve, and he tells her, you're going to feel pain from childbirth. That's going to be part of your problem, right? But also the desire for your husband is going to be contrary to him, but he will rule over you. Meaning that from that moment forward, women and men will be no longer in harmony naturally. That there will be this conflict between the two. There will be this power struggle between the two. That women will constantly want to take the position of her husband or of man. That women will constantly want to take that throne and pull in to what men's authority. They're going to want men's authority so much that they're going to constantly pursue it and be in conflict with them. Now, what is feminism? Feminism is a power struggle. Feminism is a group of women who want to have the power and the authority of a man. Now, here's the problem with that, ladies, is that it's one thing to want the power and authority, but guess what? You also have to take the responsibility of that power and authority. But that's the problem with this culture, is that it wants to remove the power and authority from the responsibility. And so what we're going to see here, and we see it in the Tradcon circles, we see it in the church circles, is that they're giving women the power and the authority, but they are still projecting the responsibility entirely on the man, who is supposed to be the head of the household, who is supposed to have the power and authority as well as the responsibility. So they're trying to divide the two things into groups and be like, well, guess what? We're all equal, so we should all equally have this power and authority. But you, sir, are going to maintain the responsibility regardless if that you have no power and authority. And that's the problem. And the thing is, there's going to come a point to where they're going to be a realization that the lie in the narrative that they're pushing, that this power and authority thing, egalitarian thing, is going to show up as a lie, and they're not going to be able to deny it anymore, because you can tell men to suppress, blame the men all you want. Eventually, when the men completely check out and that problem still persists, you're going to be faced with the reality that women, you have a responsibility here, that you also have contributed to the behavior and to the destruction of a culture and a generation that you don't want to own up to.
Hey, Glenn, can you see the comment on the screen right there? Can you read that and address that as well when you're coming from the biblical side of things? You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. It says, absolutely, the girls are missing that point because no one is talking to them about it. You're right. Nobody's talking to them about it because we don't want to address women this way because it hurts their feelings. So we would rather lie to women. The church has lied to women. The society has lied to women. The culture has lied to women because we are more concerned about their feelings rather than what they should do in their life and what's going to be better for them. We're more concerned on how things are going to make some of them feel than we are about their overall results in the long run.
So can I comment on that? There's a understanding this, when you look at feminism, Okay, and you look at men, and you wonder why women want to act like men. Okay, because women can practice cognitive dissonance easier than a man can. Women see the things that are attractive to them about men, and some of it is that roguish behavior that and so they go out and they practice the roguish behavior, and then they can't understand why men aren't attracted to them, because the reality is men aren't attracted to other men. And when a woman acts like a rogue, they view her in that sense in a lot of different ways. Now, will they have fun with her? Yeah. But will they wife her up? No. All right, because they don't want that challenge, that constant challenge. All right. And it always bothered me about feminism is that they take the worst traits that they think of a man being, and then they emulate those to think that that's equity or equality. All right. So if they can act like a man, they must be equal to a man. All right. And then at the same time, we're attacking our young men, telling them to be equal to a woman, they must act like a woman. And we as parents of the past and parents of the future, we are responsible for the mental health of the children that are born to us and that we take custody over. If we're not doing something to fix that now, it's only going to get worse. Because the reality, these social constructs and stuff that we're living under, I have to tell you, we are equal. All people in slavery are equal. And that's the truth. Doesn't matter whether you're a man or a woman. If you're living by the slavery of these social constructs,
Hey, Raith, how old are you?
62.
All right, so you got a lot of sage wisdom in you, like Thor there. But my question to you is, you see Foster says, she put this other comment in her. She says, no one is telling the girls that their kitty is their only value to a man. No one is telling them to get their bodies off of social media. So as fathers out there, as a sage guy, I'd like Raith, Thor, and Mark Daniels, because they're the oldest dudes on the panel. Much respect to these guys. I want them to address that to the future fathers and young fathers right now, because that's a big thing right there, man. That is a massive thing. It's going to take strong fathers, I would say, to counter what's going on right now, to stop the perpetuation of what's happening in society.
Well, I'll start because Thor, I, and Glenn had a conversation about this the other day, and I had an opinion, and I kind of changed my opinion a little bit based on the conversation we had. I think their kitty is their agency.
Yes, I agree with that.
Okay, and Thor and I we talked through this, but that's not their value to men.
Not their value.
Okay. Now, that may be why men become somewhat interested in it, but the reason men keep them around is because of what they do in supporting the man, the ability to have children, the ability to raise his children, the ability to perpetuate his legacy. That's the value of a woman. And if she's not doing that, then it doesn't matter that her kitty's her only agency, because she's never going to be able to sustain a relationship with a man.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. Their value is not their kitty. It's not that, but it is their agency is their sexuality. It is from birth, which makes them valuable to men. And I don't want to confuse or conflate the two, because it opens the door in such a way as something we desire is valuable, but it is not their value as a person. I think that I want clarity on that, because their value as a person, once you have entered into this long-term relationship or marriage, is pretty substantial aside from that. However, her sexual agency is, it is perishable, and it's very important that she understands that is her agency when it comes to attracting men, regardless of anything else in her life. And what she does beyond that, remember, she's the gatekeeper to sex. We are the gatekeeper to that relationship. So her real game is not attracting us to the kitty. Her real game is keeping us interested in the kitty.
Yeah, can I add something to that, Thor? It's this, look, guys, when you check out a woman, here's a question for the panel and everybody in the chat. Have you ever said, oh my God, I just want to fuck her personality?
No, I can't remember doing that.
No, because her agency, the thing that makes you attracted to her is what she presents to you. And what makes you want to keep her around is how she treats you.
Yeah.
There's the difference. Her agency is what initially gets you involved, interested in her sexuality. What keeps you there is her personality, the way she treats you, her submissiveness. Those things are what you value in the long run. But it was the sex that it got you interested to begin with.
Yeah, I would say they know their sexual value and they're using that, as you see on Instagram. But they don't know what their real value is, the value that's going to keep a man around. And you guys have said this also, but we're not talking about their value as a human being. We're talking about their value in the eyes of men. And in reality, it's the value in the eyes of themselves and other women. Because when they do that, when they go sleep with a lot of other men, it devalues them. In contrast to a man, when he does that, actually it makes him feel like more of a man because he actually has to put out effort to do it. And as you guys all know, a woman, all she has to do is say yes. She can always find somebody to sleep with. It's very easy. But for a man, he has to become something. He has to be something. If nothing else, he has to believe he is. He has to believe in himself. Otherwise, he can't pick up a woman. And that's why we have so many men out there that are the 80% of men that don't have sex, that are not involved in the hookup culture, because they don't believe in themselves. They don't have the character. They don't have the internal fortitude, which is what a woman is really attracted to. And just the same with men, with women. Women are attracted physically to men also. But as you guys know, if you don't have inner game, if you don't have inner strength, if you're not confident, as soon as that woman starts talking to you, she decides within the first few seconds whether she wants to find out more about you and thus maybe go to bed with you.
Right. Can't bang her personality. But her personality can make for a hell of a bang.
Yep.
That is true. That is true.
I didn't put the Glenn Laurence on that one. I posted that, gents. My apologies, Glenn. Let me go ahead and plug shamelessly Glenn Laurence for that one. You can't bang her personality. I didn't want to put the FECK on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we got to kind of try, gentlemen. To, you know.
I'm just saying, like, you know, now here's the thing though. A personality can make you not want to bang a broad though, too.
Oh, yeah.
Oh man.
So like, don't get me wrong, like a personality can play a role here. Like, but it doesn't make you want to fuck her.
What are you talking about, fool?
Makes you not want to fuck her if it's used the wrong way.
You know, you can turn that. Her personality can turn the meat hammer into like a Vienna sausage, man.
Hell
It
yeah.
just ain't gonna happen, man. You know what I mean? You look at him and you're just like, man, what happened to you, man?
So let's say something about social media. You know, and if there's a young woman listening to this and you want a man to look at your social media, I mean, it's fine to show yourself, and I'm talking about modestly show yourself.
Clean that up, Raith.
You know, but seriously, if you want him to, you know, look at you and say, hey, this is a woman that I would be more interested in beyond, show things like your interest, you know, in all seriousness, show things like your interest, show how you maintain your home, put those pictures in there, show, you know, make yourself a more well-rounded person. And, you know, talk about, you know, as you put pictures and stuff up, talk about the life you want, you know. And if you think the life you're going to have after marriage is living on a yacht, it's not going to happen. I mean, even millionaires don't live on yachts.
Yeah.
You know, start being realistic with a man about what your expectations are, because we all know you have expectations as young women, but those expectations have to match what our expectations are also, if you think you're going to be in a relationship with someone.
Problem is, they take the ice and they don't put the cake out there like you're talking about, Ray.
Right.
Yeah, they don't, because they don't get that immediate attention from that like they do when they show a half nude photo. But you're right on the mark with that.
Yeah, and I'm just talking to the young women that want to use Instagram to find a long-term relationship and maybe a marriage, and you know, for life or whatever you're looking for.
Right.
Because the reality is, every woman's got a kitty, every woman's got teats and
teats.
You know,
I like teats.
Yeah.
Thor, man, come on.
Hey, a nice pair of titties could do a lot of things, but as soon as that mouth starts going,
yeah.
But I'm just saying, the problem is women don't show themselves as being well-rounded women. They want a man to be a well-rounded man and do all these things and stuff, but they don't show themselves as being a well-rounded women, and that's what makes their only agency.
Yeah, it's like they are emphasizing so much on the sexual aspect of being sexually desired so much that they forget that their personality and the way that they come off could literally sabotage the sexual desire that they're trying to put out.
Right.
What keeps a man around is the personality. I don't care how good she is in bed, how beautiful she is. After 3 to 6 months, you're out of there if you can't get along with her.
That's right.
That is so correct. If you show me a 10, a guy that's banging a 10, 6 months later, I'll show you a guy that's bored of banging a 10.
That's an interesting thing, though, when you talk about personalities when it comes to women in hookup culture. I think, it emboldens them. Okay. And that's the primary issue is, down the road when it's time to get with a man and settle down, the epiphany phase happens. Oh, my eggs. Oh, my age. I'm getting older. I need to have a family. That biological drive happens, right? Once that, you stumble down the sausage road and fall on about 50 of them, the ability is gone. And that's why I say it devalues them. It doesn't damage men. It damages women because once again, a man of value, a man that's of status, a man that has built an empire or is building an empire will never, and I repeat, never put up with anything less than the best or at least a mirrored projection of the best that he is giving her and providing for her. And that's the big thing, right? Is, in current societal things with this situation, this whole hookup thing, is girls have now come to a position of, it's almost of demanding. There is no mutual respect there anymore. It's, I'm just going to bang and that's just going to be it. And then I don't care what happens in the future. And so once again, I go back to the 2030 statistic. I believe heavily because as things shift socioeconomically over the next few years, there's going to be a whole new crop of people, especially men, that are going to figure out how to build their value in this environment. And they're going to friggin' fly, man. A big percentage of men. There's going to be a huge transfer of wealth. And these girls are going to want to go along for the ride. But the problem is they're ran through and used up, man. They're going to find themselves in positions with lesser men. And that's the real tragedy in the whole situation. Too deep?
No, I think you hit that right on the head. I think that was perfect. That was perfect. I think,
needless to say, both are going to pay the same price. Unhappiness.
Absolutely.
There you go. Beautiful.
And the thing is that here's a point that we have to make, though, is that, guys, the part of the problem is ourselves in this situation because it's men that have been accepting this bad behavior and the attitude from women that they're like, oh, it's okay. I could change her. You are trying to be the girl that says I could fix him. By taking a woman with bad behavior and accepting it, thinking that she's going to change down the line, that you are going to be able to influence her behavior later. You have become the girl that says, I could fix the bad boy. Guys need to realize that by accepting it from the beginning in hopes that you could be able to, influence her to change her personality or change her behavior, you have now turned into the girl that says, I could fix the guy.
Yeah. And there is no fixing. There is no fixing. You can't fix another human being. They have to fix themselves, right? Or am I crazy on that one, Glenn?
No, you're not crazy. You are not crazy. You are absolutely right.
And that's the thing. I mean, you can give concessions and opportunity and chances and educate. And as a man, if you're a man of status and you have, set yourself up into a situation with a woman that's, less than, you can coach her, you can train her to your liking. And if she's a good woman and she has good moral character and she has a great personality, kind of like what we were talking about earlier, you can definitely teach her and train her to your lifestyle and what you want. Because once again, women need men and men want women. And so it's real simple, you know. I mean, understanding that it goes a long way. And I just can't believe that, you know, guys, they find themselves in these situations. Hell, I found myself in these situations before, you know, and that's just what happens, man. It's just the nature of the beast, you know, and it's ugly. And I think it's going to take strong fathers and guys getting on discussions like this panel today and talking about this kind of stuff and informing other men, because, you know, kind of like what this Miles Doodling said, you know, as men are waking up, you know, and that's the beautiful thing. People are starting to really wake up to what's going on in society. And I think that's both men and women, you know, are starting to wake up. I think there's a whole generation of women, though, that just don't care anymore.
Well, I want to tee off on that. You know, Miles, you're right. Guys are taking their passports and leaving. But here's the problem. If they do not fix themselves in the sense of knowing what they're going to accept and what they're not going to accept, if they do not have frame, regardless of where they go, the fact is that if you do not have frame, you do not have control over what you're going to have in your life and in your relationship, right? If you don't implement strong frame and boundaries, you will let a woman manipulate you and take over. You will defer to her down the road. So you have to maintain frame. That before you even take your passport and you go check out, have frame.
Exactly. You know, Foster says, she dropped this in the chat. She says, Dom sub BDSM relationships are a great training tool. I had to go ahead and give her that plug, man.
Sure.
We live that lifestyle, you know, and we live a very, very congruent lifestyle in our home. And we live that lifestyle, as a matter of fact, and the dynamic is appropriate, and it is 100% online with, you know, the man being the leader of the tribe, and she is the support role 100%. And that's the big thing, is most guys need to figure out, you know, how to navigate that moving forward, especially with this crop of young women that are being ran through right now. I mean, it's like, you know, I saw a thing, and I'm going to go ahead and plug them real quick. Andrew Tate said it's kind of like gold. You know, gold is expensive for a reason, because it's hard to get a hold of. Finding women that haven't been ran through are going to be like finding gold. I mean, they are literally going to be, it's going to be a challenge for you to find that diamond in the rough. You know, and that's the thing, right? Is what are you going to do as a man to get to that position, to get that gold, whether it's financial gold or the gold of a woman? The thing is you have to elevate your status. You have to build who you are as a man. Because if you don't build yourself now in your younger years, when you get to our age, like I'm mid-40s, you know, Thor's age, Mark Daniels, Raith, if you're not in that status position right there, then it's over, man. You're going to struggle for the rest of your life, and you're going to put up with subpar behavior from women, and that's just it.
Well, and you have men. I mean, we have the simp culture that's really reinforcing this. It's like a big snowball going down the hill. The women are doing it more because they're getting more and more attention.
We just lost them.
So it just
looks like we lost Mark.
Yeah, today.
Yeah,
we just lost Mark. Well, no worries. I mean, exactly, guys, don't feel too bad about this, because this is not, it's not that much of a downer. Here's why. I'm going to tell you guys exactly why this is a positive thing. I think about every second, somewhere around 50,000 girls turn 18 every day. So there's lots of hope left. So guys, let's get back to wrapping this thing up. Hookup culture seems to be almost the exclusive territory of women, at least in the West, you know, especially with all the different things out there going on, you know, and it's going to also be the bad guy of certain aspects of our society, because it's salacious and it creates indignity to point to men as being so bad. And it's so easy to tie in, because on paper, we certainly do look like we have a sex drive that's very strong, and we spread our seed every opportunity we can, and that's being real. But it doesn't tie together the fact that hookup culture is only enabled because women are the gatekeepers of sex. Without them opening that gate, there is no sex. And that's just the truth. And without us opening the gate for a long-term relationship, there is no long-term relationship for them. So That's kind of where I see this whole thing. And I think that, you know, a great discussion, fantastic work this week. Glenn Laurence, Phil Foster, Raith Deantior, Randall, and Mark. And you guys are, what a crew we have here. I mean, what an exciting show we've had today. And our viewership's up, asking good questions in the chat. And it's just, I love having topics like this. We got some stuff coming up in the future. Let's go round table and see what everybody's doing. Unless you have final thoughts on this subject, you're welcome to share them now before we do our final thoughts. You want to start, Phil? You're up there in the command position.
Yeah, man. It's just first off, to the folks that watch the stream or in the chat, man, apologize for the glitches today. We're working on that kind of stuff. I guess StreamYard's being a little bit grouchy. But anyways, you know, when it comes to this, there is no hookup culture. It's 100% of the women behaving in this fashion or having that opportunity, and 4.5% of the men. Once again, Rolo Tomasi put that out there. You can also check that study that we put in that Randall took care of in the chat. In the links. It's important to understand that the way things should naturally be, they are unnatural right now. And you have to understand that when you as a woman behave in this fashion, you really are taking the value, the agency, we'll go ahead and correct that word, the agency of what you have to offer to a man of status or value further in your life. Getting guys to understand that you do not have to wife up a hoe is a thing. You know, it's going to be like finding gold, guys. So the further this perpetuates, the harder it's going to be for you. You know, the passport idea is one thing to do, you know, but eventually that's going to get played out as well. You know, the thing is to understand that it damages not the man, but it devalues the woman. And that's the beautiful thing. And those studies can definitely back that up. And since also it's amazing when you look at those studies, how indifferent the women responded. Out of the 70 women, I believe that when they asked the question, do you feel it negatively affected how you feel about yourself? 34% were indifferent, which means they did not want to answer that question. Okay, they didn't want to admit it. And so when you look at things like that and you look at the damage that you're doing to yourself, yeah, it's all fun and games right now, but when it comes time to be a woman and have a family, you've done scrambled your brain through your guts. You can find me at Phil Foster _ on all social media platforms. My YouTube channel's back. Randall and I have been working diligently along with a couple of other guys in the manosphere and content creators. So the Growth Cast is back. You can find me over there. And great panel. Once again, Raith, it's so great to be on here. Mark, Glenn, Thor, as always, awesome opportunity here. You can also find me at philfosterfitness.com. I got all your hormone training and supplement needs. And that's what I got, brother.
Raith, what's going on, man? Final thoughts here as we close this show on Hooking Up Out?
Well, I'm going to help Glenn out, and I'm going to name these women that are trying to save men. Let's call them Sister Save a Chad. So,
Sister Save a Chad. That's beautiful.
Yeah. As far as the hookup culture, as you know, we know it's not really there for men. I mean, and you know, if you want to be, as a young man, you want to be in control of your life, you have to first be in control of yourself. That means getting your game together, your inner game together, your frame, your money right, all those things that, you know, make you successful as being a man. Once you have those, and I can't say it enough, once you start getting those things in line, the appropriate women are going to come to you. And if you don't believe that, start looking around at the people that you associate with as things start to change in their lives. As they start getting their lives together, you'll see that they have opportunities. If you don't have opportunities, it's because you're not doing something yourself. You're not doing something to build the man you need to be. As far as young women, you know, the only thing I can tell you is value what you have. And by placing value on that, men will find value in it too. If you devalue it, then there are more than enough men out there that will help you devalue it. That's the truth. But that doesn't make them bad men. That just makes them men. And that doesn't make you a bad woman. It just makes you a woman that's living in a conundrum that you can't solve. And I know there are plenty of female coaches out there that are red pill female coaches that could help young women figure out how to resolve those issues, because they've been coached by their husbands and men that support them in their efforts, because they bring value to the man. So work on yourselves, whether you're a man or a woman, but understand what you need to be in order to be a couple and to be together and to be in a relationship that's successful for you. And unfortunately for women, that means not sleeping around with everybody. You can find me at Raith_Detour on Facebook, Instagram, Telegram. And I also have a YouTube page that is on YouTube at Raith_Detour.
Thank you, Raith. Sure appreciate that. We'll come along to Glenn and then Randall. So, Glenn, what's on your mind here as we close this episode out? I know you got a few words.
Do I? Let me start off by saying I want to read the definition of what a culture means. And then I also want to read the quote by Wendell Pierce. All right. It says, this is the definition of culture. The definition of culture is the customs, arts, social institutions, and the achievements of a particular nation, people, or other social group. You ask yourself, who is involved in? So is this really a hookup culture? Is it really is it our nation that is doing this? No, it's not. So there is no hookup culture. Now, if we want to understand culture, I love this quote. It says, the role of culture is that it's the form through which we as a society reflect on who we are, where we've been, and where we are going. Think about that. If this is a problem, this hookup culture is a problem, then we need to reflect on ourselves. First, start at the individual before we can start about the society. What are you doing? How are you contributing? What is your role in this quote unquote hookup culture? Once you realize that, once you address that and say if you want to participate in it or not, you first have to make the choice whether or not you are going to act on this culture the way that you are. If you want to change it, if you don't like the hookup culture, then you first change yourself and change how you interact to it. There is no such thing as a hookup culture, though. We have come to the conclusion of that at the end of this stream. Rollo Tomasi has verified that. We have statistics and facts that we produce that showcase that is not in existence as a culture. Ladies, unfortunately for you, it's a reality. It's a reality that you live in. And if you do not want to continue to be living in that reality, then you have the choice to make. Only 4.5% of guys actually have the choice to make whether or not they want to engage in hookup culture. So although that society and church and everybody else tells you women that you have no responsibility or authority involving hookup culture, the truth is you solely are responsible for your behavior in such a culture. So think about that. You have agency, you have power and authority to determine whether or not you are going to participate. So the choice is yours. This time the choice is not for the men.
Thank you, Glenn. Laurence, excellent final comments. And I'd like to move towards Randall. Randall, our producer. You got any final thoughts about this today?
So most men, like many men, we would love to be the deciding factor in hookup cultures because men want unlimited access to unlimited women. But unfortunately, in most men's cases, that's not the reality. So if a man wants that or tries to gain access to that, we have to level up. We have to get our fitness on point. We have to get our inner game on point. So then when we get our game on point, it is congruent. And then, of course, once you start to get past like 30, nobody wants a broke bum. So make sure you're doing your career stuff. Make sure your career is one that's going to pay well. Get counseling from like Raith if you have to. I know myself, I'm going to be reaching out to him. But as men, we must level up continuously in order to gain access to the women that we want. As for where I will be at, you will see me sometimes on Phil Foster's channel. Of course, I'll be here, whether or not I'm on stream or hanging out in the backyard, in the background. I'll be in the chats talking with everybody. Sorry about all the glitches today. Apparently, Google's been having some issues. So I wish everybody to have a good day. And back to you, Thor.
Yeah, and of course, you'll see him here on he'll be here as well on the DragonShip and RP Thor. And I want to acknowledge one of my long lost Viking sons and send a super chat to Rule Zero to congratulate me on my first Rule Zero today. But, Devin, he's an ice fisherman out on the Great Lakes. Appreciate you. Thank you for turning in and congratulating me. Guys, I really enjoyed this show. It was fantastic. And once again, sorry about the glitches. It looks like StreamYard was having issues with Google, and it kind of affected the stream a little bit. We'll see if we can't work through that, and I'm sure we'll have a great show next time, guys. So, just remember here on the DragonShip, we want to leave you with some positive thoughts. There's lots of positive about this, but just recognize that, hookup culture is what it is, and it's being accessed by many women today. And as men, we need to stand up and call it out for what it is, and it will turn around for us for sure. And we'll learn to adapt. So, guys, I'm going to take us out with a couple things here. And with that, we'll see you next week, Rule Zero, and on the DragonShip right after Rule Zero. Be sure and tune in. Thank you all for participating today. See you next time.
If you like this video, make sure to check out the DragonShip's YouTube page, where you'll get all our latest videos, hottest clips, and live streams. And make sure to like and subscribe. And aboard the DragonShip. Let's go. And if you haven't already, join Thor's The Dragons membership. It's a men's monthly interactive video meeting in cyberspace. This is a masculine place for men that is censorship free to increase your performance as well as converse and leverage ideas and get coaching consultations on how to handle life's issues in a modern world. This is a unique place. This is a discreet place, and it's a place for men. So what are you waiting for? Join the Dragons membership. Link below. If you're looking to level up your physique and you need some assistance, make sure to go to philfosterfitness.com. philfosterfitness.com is your one-stop shop for all your fitness and workout needs. Get your high-quality protein that's packed with all the essential ingredients that you need to support muscle recovery and muscle growth. And if you haven't reached your fitness goals on your current workout plan, make sure to go to philfosterfitness.com and book yourself a one-on-one consult today. When you book your one-on-one consult at philfosterfitness.com, you get a customized workout and nutrition plan that's designed specifically for you. Look, you're an individual, so a generic cookie-cutter workout plan that you found off the internet will only get you so far. So if you really want to level up and reach your goals, you need a customized workout plan that's designed specifically for you. So if you're really wanting to reach your fitness goals, why wait? Go to philfosterfitness.com and book yourself a consult today.